And I know that among my listeners, I have people who like Joe Biden, who support Joe Biden and may support him for the presidency. I want to talk about what happened. This is kind of the last 48 hours, an ongoing conversation about what happened to what Joe Biden said in an interview. Actually, it was in a fundraiser, what he said in a fundraiser, and then how that is being criticized by his fellow Democratic candidates running for president of the United States. But first, I'm going to go, and Matt, I sent you, these are out of order, I'm sorry, but I sent you a link that was when Joe Biden made his announcement. I want to remind you all what he said about President Trump, what he said as the reason he was running for president. Do you have that, Matt? Okay, here we go.
It was there on August of 2017 we saw Klansmen and white supremacists and neo-Nazis come out in the open. Their crazed faces, illuminated by torches, veins bulging and bearing the fangs of racism, chanting the same anti-Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s. And they were met by a courageous group of Americans, and a violent clash ensued. And a brave young woman lost her life. And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides.
Okay, the reason I had to play that with you to kick off this discussion, Joe Biden announced his campaign. He made his campaign announcement on a flat-out, bold-faced lie. A lie. President Trump, as we played the clips, we read his speeches to you, we've played the clips, President Trump referred to fine people on both sides of the question of whether or not America should be taking down Civil War era statues, markers, other things which honor Civil War people in our history who were fought on the Southern side. Basically, it's Robert E. Lee statues, but other statues as well. There's a movement in America for some people just want to take down everything that represents anything about the Southern side in the Civil War. And so the entire incident that Biden was referring to was a battle that broke out over whether or not to remove a particular Robert E. Lee statue. And there were some said, yes, we should remove it. Others said, no, we should not. Trump never said that racists or anyone involved in violence or that Klansmen or that white supremacists, he never said anyone like that constituted a fine person. Trump's, quote, fine people on both sides was about Americans of all colors on both sides disagreeing about how we move forward as a country, whether or not we keep those statues up. That's what Trump said. But Biden opened his presidential campaign on a flat-out lie. And that should tell you about all you need to know about his character. But moving forward, so Biden had he has a long history in America involving race. And I just want to tell you what he did. So he was at an event. He was speaking at a fundraiser, a high-dollar fundraiser. And his point he was making at this fundraiser was Biden was saying that over his many years in Washington, he has proven that he can work with anyone. He can work with anyone. He was touting his ability to work with people he doesn't agree with. So he mentioned James Eastland of Mississippi, a senator from Mississippi from 1941 to 1978. He touted himself, this James Eastland, touted himself as the voice of the white South. He was a rabid segregationist. He hated black people. He said horrible, evil things. I decided not to put them on the screen, but horrible, evil things. His entire service in the Senate from Mississippi as a Democrat. Biden mentioned in this fundraiser, well, yeah, I even work with James Eastland, Mississippi guy. And he also mentioned another one, Herman Talmadge of Georgia. He served in the U.S. Senate from the state of Georgia from 1957 to 1981. He was also a Democrat. He was also a strident, ugly, vicious racist. These two were horrible representatives of the Democrat Party in the U.S. Senate. And Biden, in trying to say I can work with anybody, is talking about how well he worked with them and chumming up with them. And in this speech, he went on and on blathering about how comfortable he was and they worked together. And his point was, we can disagree about things, but hey, we disagree, but sometimes we still work together. And he actually went on to say, you'd get up and you'd argue. This is Biden speaking. You'd get up and you'd argue like the devil with them. Then you'd go down and have lunch or dinner together. The political system worked. We were divided on issues, but the political system worked. He used the term in these remarks just a few days ago, talking about longing for the era of civility, that he loved when there was civility. And this was his example, that he worked with these ugly racists, and he's claiming, got some good things out of that, but he worked with these ugly racists, and then he had lunch or dinner with them. So this did not go over well with the several of the Democrat opponents, his Democrat opponents running for president. Cory Booker has been very critical. So has Kamala Harris. Many Democrats have come out saying, what is he talking about, palling around with these segregationists, these violent, hateful, racist segregationists? And I'm going to tell you what the answer is. What Biden is really saying there, when he's saying, wasn't it great, we could be civil, he sat down and had lunch or dinner with these fine people. He's actually doing and bragging about in his speech what he falsely accused Trump of doing. Trump didn't call racist fine people. Biden is bragging about getting along with them and having lunch with them and having dinner with them, and he's now been pushed a little bit to apologize for sounding so friendly and chatty toward these segregationist racists. We have a brief little clip on Biden. He will not apologize. Here he is saying he won't apologize.
Cory should apologize. He knows better. There's not a racist bone in my body. I've been involved in civil rights my whole career. Period. Period. Period.
So who he's talking about there is Cory Booker, because Cory Booker, one of the presidential candidates, really came down hard on Biden. And that's what Biden's saying is, not only is he not apologizing, Cory Booker should apologize for calling him out on what he said. But I just want to posit several other things. Then we're going to turn to the reparations hearings that are now ongoing in the U.S. House. But I want to finish on this point about Biden. I want to remind you about what happened to Trent Lott. If you remember that name, Trent Lott back in 2002 was just about to become the Senate Majority Leader, Republican senator, and he was about to become the Majority Leader. And he went to a birthday party for segregationist Strom Thurmond. So it wasn't a political speech; it was a birthday party. I think Strom Thurmond might have been turning 100 or something. Yeah, 100. He was turning 100 years old. So Trent Lott asked to make some birthday remarks to Strom Thurmond, who had a history as a segregationist. And in those remarks, Lott said, hey, things might have been better off if we supported Strom Thurmond years ago when he ran for governor or ran for president, whatever he ran for. The whole point was, all he was doing was praising somebody at a birthday and saying, hey, things might have been better if we voted for you. No comment about race. And that particular little clip from a birthday party nearly destroyed Trent Lott. The media, CNN, could not get enough of playing it over and over and commenting on it and asking everyone under the sun what they thought about it and what their second cousin thought about it. And they just went on and on and on. I do think that what Biden said here is so stupid that the media is going to have to pay some attention to it. But stop and think about how much attention the media paid to Trump's remark that there were fine people on both sides. And again, on both sides of whether or not you should take down statues of Civil War era people who fought in the South or not. effort the media makes to attach that statement to President Trump and then to relentlessly use the term racist, having made racist statements in the past. And every time someone says, what are you talking about? No, he didn't make racist statements. They keep it up. I'm just going to make a prediction here. The media is not going to do this to Biden. Unless, of course, the media comes around, decides they got to take Biden out, that they don't want him to get the nomination. Because right now he's leading the Democrat pack, and maybe the media will turn on him if they decide he's not the one to get the nomination. But they will never do to Biden over these just ridiculously inane praising of these segregationists. In fact, one little thing I just discovered in doing all this research for the show today, Biden actually agreed with the Mississippi Senator Eastland, who was stridently fighting against for busing as a resolution for segregated schools. You remember we had the whole era in American history where we had busing enforced, and we had we had Congress essentially requiring busing to integrate schools. Eastland didn't want to do that. He's this Mississippi senator. He's saying no way, and because he hates. He, at the time, and still today I assume, hated black people, did not want to have black children in the same schools as white children, and Biden helped him fight busing. Biden sided with Eastland to fight busing. Now, Biden will say, yeah, I did that because I really thought that, and Biden's defense of it was, well, yeah, I really thought the black community would be far better off and be able to preserve their strong culture and unity and connection if we didn't break up the schools and send some students and integrate the schools. He claimed his opposition to busing. Biden said his opposition to busing was because he just really wanted to help the black culture stay together, and he thought busing would divide them. I don't know. I don't think that many people would have given a Republican very much of a break if they had that attitude that Biden did, but I raise this all today to say Biden has really stepped in it with these statements, and he is taking this strident, I'm not apologizing. What are you talking about? Who, me? I'm not apologizing. Cory should apologize. I don't think Cory Booker's going to apologize. I don't even think, and Biden might have just, he might have learned the lesson from the Obama era. There's just never anything good to come out of apologizing. All they'll do is they'll take your apology as a further news story to say, and he admitted it. Look at this. He apologized. He admitted it. So Biden just saying no way. But my main point in raising this to you is the utter hypocrisy of Biden announcing his campaign based entirely on a lie, claiming that Trump said they're fine people who are racist, and yet he is essentially praising these two clear racists, segregationist racists, as longingly speaking of the time he worked with them because it was an era of civility. And even though they'd argue, he'd sit down and have lunch and dinner with them. Palling around with racists was okay when it was Joe Biden doing it. But it's not okay, I hope, in the minds and hearts of Americans.